I'd like to call the meeting of the City of Palatka Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to order. This is the meeting of August the 16th, 2012. I extend a welcome to all of our participants at our meeting today. I would like to call on Chief Gary Getchell to deliver our invocation. That will be followed by a Pledge of Allegiance led by City Manager Simbar. Would you please stand?
Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to come before you and do the work of people you represent. That you reach down and touch those that represent the citizens and businesses and visitors in this community, give them the strength and wisdom to deal with that business. And this we ask in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Myers.
Present.
Vice Mayor Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Kitchens.
Present.
Commissioner Leary.
Here.
Commissioner Norwood.
Here.
Ms. Murtaugh. Here.
We have a quorum. We can proceed with our meeting. Members of the Redevelopment Agency, you received a copy of the minutes of June 14th, 2012. Are there any additions or deletions to these minutes?
Motion for approval.
There's a motion for approval by Commissioner Brown, seconded by Mrs. Murtaugh. Is there any discussion?
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The minutes stand approved. We're in item 2 on our agenda, the public comments section. I invite anyone in attendance at the meeting to come forward with any comments. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes, and it is unreasonable to expect that any action will be taken on any items unless they're on the agenda. There being no one, we'll close the public comment section. Item 3 is the Central Business District. It's a request to approve a change order to Dietrich Planning Contract in the amount of $443 for a new contract amount of $10,636 to provide additional services in connection with the CRA Sunset Extension Project. Laura Dietrich from Dietrich Planning. Item B is a request to award bid in the amount of $21,875 to Designs, Inc. for Central Business District signage program per request of RFQ. This is recommended by Charles Rudd, the Main Street manager. And item C is a request to adopt proposed amendments to grant programs. Charles Rudd, Main Street manager. C1 is Building Improvement Grant, the big program, and C2 is Facade Grant Program. Is there any discussion or any questions on any of these items?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner.
On C, I have a question on, it's the facade grant program. They have a hold harmless agreement to be signed on the facade grant program, and I'm not sure why they need a hold harmless agreement to be signed on the facade grant. But I noted that they did not have the same thing under the big grant or the item 4. No other grant things in the TIFs have a hold harmless agreement. I have no problem with the hold harmless agreement. This is being done on private property. I'm not sure how it would affect the city, but I think we need to be consistent. And if we have a hold harmless agreement under the facade grant, I think we also need it under the big program as well as the programs in the South Historic District. I think we just need to be consistent, either have it or don't have it. I'm not really sure why we need it.
Mr. Rudd?
Is it appropriate way to include items A and item B?
If that would be your desire, it would, if you'd like to make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion to approve items A and B. Is there any discussion?
Question.
Question's been called. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Items A and B stand approved. We're discussing item 3C. Mr. Rudd.
Charles Rudd, Palatka, Main Street. Actually, there is a hold harmless for all the grants.
Okay.
There was no change to the in the big to the application itself, so it was not included.
Okay, I just wondered because the one application was under this one, but not under the other one, so then I was curious. Okay,
Yes.
that answers the question. Thank you.
That question been answered. Is any other discussion, or any other questions on item 3C?
Move approval.
There's a motion by
Second.
Commissioner Leary, seconded by Commissioner Brown. Is there any discussion?
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Item 3C stands approved. Item 4, South Historic District, request to approve a new program. This is the South TIF District Commercial Rehabilitation Grant Pilot Program, and this item was tabled on June the 14th, 2012, and Mr. Gagnon, the president of the South Historic District. Mr. Gagnon.
Michael Gagnon, 703 Emmett Street, Palatka. We're bringing this back after discussion before we brought it the first time, and we got opinions from all of you, and we incorporated those. The last meeting was tabled for a few more questions, and we advised to speak to Mr. Holmes, and we did make the sanctum of his office, and brought this to Mr. Holmes and listened to his instructions or advice, and we've incorporated those into this.
So what are the major revisions of this
Okay?
for approval as opposed to the one previously submitted, Mr. Gagnon?
I'm not sure you're highlighted, but I'll call up the line item on page 2. Under program guidelines, number 9
Was added?
was added. We reduced the maximum grant to $40,000 with a 25% cash match.
As I recall, that was one of the objections to it. The original program was $60,000, and there was no specified cash grant.
We went to cash, we took out the in-kind and specified as cash.
Right.
Remember, while we're on page 2, I have a question, and I have a question on page 3, if I may.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Mike, under the program guidelines, number 1 on page 2 says this grant provides funding for exterior rehabilitation only, which is self-explanatory. But under number 5, the last sentence says, new construction and exterior changes of non-historic buildings shall be compatible with surrounding historic structures, etc. That sounds like that this grant will be used to fund new construction as well as exterior rehabilitation. I just needed a clarification on that, why it says new construction under number 5 and exterior rehabilitation only on item number 1 under program guidelines.
Well, because I think it's really hard to define something that we're not aware of yet due to no applications. We are in a process where we can't necessarily decide what's going to come in for an application or what would be necessary. We're targeting exterior because we do consistent with the home improvement program.
Okay,
We've gone inside a building to.
I would say then that probably sentence number 1 needs to be modified or changed when it specifies it's for exterior rehabilitation only. And if you might be going to do new construction and stuff, I think that sentence number 1 tends to conflict with that. I just think maybe you just need to maybe drop sentence number 1, or maybe just say this grant provides for funding for rehabilitation or new construction or something. It just seems like the last sentence in number 5 conflicts with the one sentence in number 1.
I think what it may be directed toward, I think one of the ideas was a functional B&B. In that case, if an owner said, we'd like to turn this into a B&B, now we have to have certain guidelines through the fire marshal for egress, we have to have certain guidelines for accessibility.
Handicap.
Those are exterior, but they're new construction.
Okay, so that,
So that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of the phrasing of that. I don't know how else to eliminate or specify.
maybe remodeling?
Well, it's still,
Yeah, that's-
remodel and rehab is, we're trying to be specific, but so that we
Oh,
can.
I understand what you're saying now, because I wondered about that, because new construction, a handicap ramp would be new construction. If you added something onto the existing building, that would be, I guess, would be considered new construction.
Well, if
to
it
some
were, let's
degree.
say, an enclosed porch, I mean, something that's, the house is there. And in terms of rehabilitation and historic, the guidelines are somewhat less. And this is the information from the fire marshal and the city building official. again, we're not concerned with inside, whether or not they require handicap
Right.
accessibility. What we can do is we can do on the outside of that building.
I think what it's designed to do is just allow as much discretion as possible to facilitate a renovation. There may be some new construction associated with the renovation or the rehab, and this is to allow for that.
Maybe something new that's required. with
Right.
Like a handicap or like more parking, what have you, at the exterior.
Can you put it as an IE in parentheses so that it might encompass these?
Well,
I don't think I can word that any better. Ed.
yeah, I think it's just to
It has to be a little bit nebulous.
allow us to accomplish what we need to accomplish on
So
the
the
thing.
bottom line is, if someone has a vacant lot, they're not gonna be able to get this grant and
No,
go in and build a
no.
restaurant,
No.
which would probably be prohibited anyway, but something like that.
Yeah, right.
Okay. One other question on that, and then I have a question on page 3, and then I'll let Vice Mayor ask her question. Gee, I forgot what number, the second question was. Oh, how many, besides the boathouse marina, what other commercial buildings do we have in the South Historic District?
I would have to advise you, ma'am, to do that research, because if I start to throw names out there, it might appear that I'm looking at particular buildings. There
Well,
are
I was just curious, because I do
There
know
are
that
others.
the other commercial building will be across from Campbell School, which has historically been commercial since at least the 50s. There's a little thrift shop or a used furniture store. So basically, there's only 2 commercial buildings, one of them being the Boathouse Marina, which I understand is up for renovations, and then the little store that's across from Campbell
There
School.
may be another, and also when we consider this for adaptive reuse, that is something that is not necessarily classified that way yet, i.e. B&B.
A bed and breakfast,
Okay, so
right.
a B&B would have to be classified commercial before it could be a B&B?
I'd have to ask that.
Into the area.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it does need a.
It would need a variance.
Conditional use.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whether it's a variance or just conditional use.
Okay, my final question that I can think of right now is on page 3, and it's the same question I had last time, which under the last time it was under section 10, and I have it's page 3, section 11 right now, but on the last time we heard this, it was on page 3, section 11, and it says if the property owner sells or transfers the ownership of the property within a year of the commercial rehabilitation grant, and it gives different amounts that have to be paid back. My question now is, what legal binding document are they going to sign that's going to be recorded that makes sure that when they move or sell before the time period is up, that we, the CRA, can legally take action to get these funds back?
Well, there's 2 ways to explain that. Number one, the easiest way is on, and I think you have page 2 of the application.
Yes.
That's called acceptance of terms.
Okay.
Which is as legally as we can bind them. I suppose Mr. Holmes can say that better. He also has a statement here, I'll try to find it now.
Okay.
But that is as far as the south side or the CRA, I'm not sure beyond that in legal terms what else. If we file a lien
Okay,
in this period of time that they accept in terms, as notarized terms. So as far as binding,
I'll ask Mr. Holmes in just a second, but I know if this is to be recorded, this acceptance of terms, you've got the notary information, which is fine, but you do have to have 2 witnesses on a document in addition to the notary for it to be able to be recorded. So you'll need to revise your form and add the space for 2 witnesses. The only other thing, and I think I'll go ahead and let Mr. Holmes address this now since we're talking about it, and he mentioned it at the last meeting, and I totally agree that any amount of funds that are given out through the CRA, before the funds are distributed, they need to come back for final approval to the CRA.
ma'am,
I'm aware that we only meet every other month, but we can have an emergency meeting if it's needed to have it quicker.
program procedures, page 3, item 4. Final statement. The final approval is provided by the CRA board with community input.
The last the last
Okay,
sentence.
Okay,
And I want to suggest modification of that, but just as to semantics. But in response, or with regard to the earlier question you asked, really there should be something, notice of lien or notice of obligation or something that's filed with the legal description of the property that would reference back to the obligation in order for it to be picked up in a title search. So
It'd be pretty easy to do, but we could put together a one-page document, a notice of lien, notice of obligation, call it what you want.
Second lien.
Right, that the person would sign, that would have the legal description of the property referenced, and would reference back to
Right.
this grant, and then that would be a way that it would be picked up on title search.
I prefer to see that on all of these, if you
Yeah, I
can
think
get a page
so
like
too.
that to attach to each of these grants.
Sure.
Our grants
Yeah.
at least,
Sure.
as a final page, because I want the protection at the same that you want, but I can't wait.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think that's great, and as to the, so we're covered when it says final approval is provided by the CRA
Well,
board.
I
So
would-
that means we'll approve, the funds won't be distributed until it comes back to us for
We're gonna
approval.
I would change 4, and we talked about conceptual changes, and I think that they've gone back and tried to address and incorporate all the conceptual changes that we discussed in my office. I would clean up the language a tad bit in 4, so that in the second line, it would read, the second line only of paragraph number 4 on page 3 under program procedures would read, compliance, and will recommend grant awards based upon the scope and merit of the total project. So that sentence would read, the whole sentence then, beginning at the first word of paragraph 4 would read, the SHNA Grant Review Committee will review the application packet for compliance and will recommend grant awards based upon the scope and merit of the total project. The next sentence can remain intact just as it is, and in the last line can read, all grants shall be awarded by the CRA board after consideration of the recommendation of the SHNA committee and community input.
I think that's perfect, that answers my concerns. Are you agreeable to that, Mr. Gagan?
Yes, ma'am. And
Great.
thank you, Don. Now, can we get that from, we'll get it from somewhere to,
Sure, and I've written it down too.
okay.
Great, well, I have no more questions then.
I just had a question. I know that when we did community development block grants and when we finished with them, we had some houses that we gave to underprivileged people. And we had somebody who desperately said they needed it. When they got it, they kept it for a year and said they couldn't repair it and sold it and took the money and went. I would like to see somebody at least hold that property for more than a year. I think most of the time if you go to a bank for a loan, they tack more than a year on the stuff. It's in 10 where they said that,
Well, I think they've got a stepped,
The first year, Mary, is 100%.
3 years.
yeah,
So-
under the
I know
second year
you-
it's 50% and the third, but you can't, we're trying to stimulate activity in our historic districts, you know, and you can't put too severe conditions in on those things.
well, I mean, actually, within 5 years, people know whether they're gonna be in business or not.
Well, you don't
There's a little
know.
bit of a point there, because some people will just take a loan to fix up a building and then sell it.
That's what they do.
And unfortunately, it does hurt, because that's a building that is no longer viable for whoever had it. And I agree with Mary that we should have a time on it instead of just leaving it
I think
open.
that,
I know y'all got a sliding fee scale for paying it
It's
back,
not-
but they need to have some initiative to want to do that business and keep it there. They
this
should have gone
program,
there with a
again,
business.
is very difficult to qualify for because the applicant has to be bona fide. That's up to us, it's up to you. When these things come forward, if someone says to me, look, here's my application, I have everything filled up, it's perfect. And here's my total plan. We need to look at the total project. If this person says, I'm putting $100,000 into this property after I purchase it, and we're gonna assist them with a $40,000 grant, but they're $10,000 on top of that, that's enough investment, I think, for someone not to say, I'm down the road.
Sure.
I mean, this is done.
But it's been done before.
Well, ma'am, I'm
It's been,
sure-
it's been done before.
We don't
Somebody
fix-
that
we don't
wants.
fix people, we fix buildings. right?
I
We
know,
can't-
I know, but we've got to look out for, we're trying to build and we want people to stay. And we need to know that, even though you say they're putting that money, some people put it in there so they can roll that thing right on over.
Well, but I think in the condition, in this case you're talking about, Mary, you're talking about we gave something to someone. I think if you have skin in the game, and you have an equity investment, you're going to think long and hard before you give that, or lose that building and lose your equity in the property.
Well, I mean, they do it, take our money, fix it up and sell it and get much more out
If
of it.
that building has been adapted to either a reuse or improvement, that that building remains, whoever owns it. And again, that's fixing properties, revitalizing Palatka, not necessarily fixing personalities. which
And
we-
Commissioner Leary?
Yeah, I agree with what Mike's saying, in that if the building is renovated and, you know, the people sell it, move on, it just makes it that much more attractive for another business to locate there, and something that may, you know, be more viable from a business standpoint for that historical district than what's currently there. So I don't have a problem, especially when they're gonna put that kind of money into it. I think that, you know, it's gonna be a viable.
Mayor.
Yes, Commissioner.
I think we're pretty well covered, because it said if they get rid of the property for any reason within a year, they have to pay back 100%. And before they signed up for this, we will have the notice of lien or obligation filed on record. So if they try to buy something else or something, it'll show up in a title search, and that will prohibit them from doing any other action. So they would have to pay back the money. So if we get the money back and we have a revamped building, I think it's win-win for us.
Okay,
Yeah.
as long as we got it tied down.
Yeah, and Mary, I think the one that you're talking about where we put the money out, sold the building within a year, that was before we started tying a lien to it and getting that filed to
What she
where
said.
it comes up in
Okay,
title.
so
I think
as
we're-
long as we have a way to
Yeah,
get. what
as
we're
long as they
doing.
sign this notice of lien or obligation that Mr. Holmes is gonna draw up, then they have to pay back the money, or they got this against their
Right.
title. So I think that covers us.
Any
The
other?
only thing to answer, I think, was Mayor's question about what was changed in here, totally. The only other thing that I see, that the applicant, it would be on page 3, under eligibility requirements, number 3. The applicant must provide a current and dated title search.
Right.
So, I think we've addressed everything from the board members as well as Mr. Holmes. That additional sheet, we'd be happy to attach that beyond the acceptance of terms.
I'm sorry, Michael, did you cover whether the mortgage was current and if there was insurance? Because that should be that was part of the,
Yeah, it's in here, the mortgage is. See, it wasn't a change, Angela, so I don't have it highlighted.
It says property taxes must be current and paid in full. That's item 2 under eligibility.
Robbie, is there mortgage in here?
because I think we had discussed that in the last
That would
CRA,
go,
that the mortgage should be
well,
current.
we can't, again, we can't, they can provide a statement on their mortgage being current. I think we look at that where we can't check that. I think we can require a statement. Give us a statement from the owner. We can't go to a bank and check it.
No,
But it would be nice to have it as an eligibility requirement, and it was discussed,
yes,
right?
it was discussed in our last meeting. And that's something that we all have. We get a statement every month from the bank. And with the prior grants, we had to submit a copy of our mortgage statement to show that it was current when the big grant was applied for and passed.
I think if we perhaps added that if they need to bring, either, if they don't have a title search, they need to have one and bring it up to date, that should pick up any default on the mortgage if there's been a Liz Pendon's file or a final judgment or
Yeah,
something like
but
that.
You could be past due on your mortgage and not have any action pending on the thing. you know.
Right, and technically, you don't say that the title search is supposed to reveal the absence of liens. It just says they gotta provide a current title
Title
search.
search,
And
right.
the
Doesn't
title
say-
search doesn't prove that.
It doesn't say what the title search is supposed to reveal, or that you can be rejected if there are outstanding liens on the property.
So that statement is, you have that, Robbie, because either, I want to be able to call Betsy and ask her.
Okay.
I'm just gonna add.
Okay, but include that.
Just, that would absolutely be in the eligibility.
Right. Any other questions, Commissioners?
Sean, did that satisfy all of your concerns that we had?
Yes, and I appreciate Angela pointing that out, because I had hoped that and requested that it show that the mortgage be current and that the title search reveal that there were no recorded liens on the property. So, and those are easily added. Those are both,
Was discussed too. Current insurance was also discussed in the last meeting, that the insurance on that building,
They got a mortgage,
Mortgage holders.
got a mortgage, they don't require insurance.
yeah.
well, not if that
Well-
building is paid off. If that building is clear and free, they do not require that.
They don't have a mortgage.
You want to, I didn't remember us talking about insurance, but if you, I mean,
Those are not.
But in the downtown, when,
Yeah,
Well-
those are
the
not-
downtown,
we
you
put those
can
in
have-
here.
Yeah, you need to put that in there. That's important. Property taxes, insurance, and
So no matter
mortgage
if that building
status.
burns down, you have nothing.
Right.
all right, so you'd want a clause, I'm just, for Robbie's sake, you're talking about a clause that would provide that, under the eligibility requirements, that any mortgage which encumbers the property is current.
Right.
You'd add a few words at paragraph 3 to read, and reveal the absence of liens. So that sentence would read, the applicant must provide a current and date of title search and reveal the absence of liens. And then you'd want to state that, again, under requirements, the property is insured at full insurable value.
Right.
And that's all you'd really need. The property is insured at full insurable value.
And the mortgage current statement.
Yeah, I already had mentioned that first, I thought I had.
Current mortgage statement.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else?
I move to approve with the changes we've recommended.
Motion to approve with the recommended changes by Commissioner Kitchen, seconded by Commissioner Leary. Is there any discussion? Question's been called. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Stands approved.
Thank you. We'll have those changes to each of you and Don Holmes and the city manager within, so you'll have a final.
Thank you for your diligence and hard work.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Correa, for your diligence and hard work. Item 5. Under other business reports, item 5A is recommendation to amend our CRA fiscal year to coincide with the City of Palatka fiscal year, October 1st through September the 30th. Matt Reynolds, Finance Director.
I included a short memo addressing it in the past. The way we had done the CRA, since I've been here, the way we would do it would we'd get the revenues and expenditures through the fiscal year, and then present basically what he would present his budget, where he tried to make allocations for the amount of money that he had remaining for January 1 to December 31st, and it always kind of created some issues because those amounts would then carry forward into part of the following fiscal year. So we thought it would just be easier if we changed the budget and the fiscal year for the CRA to coincide with the city's budget and fiscal year. Just clean some things up. Talked with Carol Westmoreland. She's with the Board of the Biggest Cities, and she's a CRA expert. She said she had no issues with us doing that, and she said that's typically the way it should be anyway. So.
Make the motion that we change.
There's a motion by Commissioner Brown, seconded by Commissioner Kitchen. Is there any discussion? Question's been called. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Stands approved. Item 5B is the budget financial update for fiscal year 2011/12 and allocation for fiscal year 2012 to 13. Mr. Reynolds.
This is the revenue and expenditure sheet that's normally presented to the CRA board each year. What I've done, pages 1 through 3 are for the current fiscal year. Shows the beginning balance, the revenues that we brought in last November, and all of the expenditures that we've had so far this year. This is on page 1 of the downtown tip. Down at the bottom, we have a section called allocated but unspent. These are the monies that have been allocated for certain projects, like the $2,700 for the mural lighting. We allocated $50,000 for the recruitment. 36 is left. We spent 14 out of that already. There's some remaining Main Street expenditures. We had $210,000 allocated for transfer to the Better Place for the downtown parking and streetscaping project. There's some left in the SOD grant, the I-95 signs, and some wayfinding expenditures. Some of those will be carrying forward into next fiscal year. The downtown redevelopment, or the downtown TIF district for next year is on page 4. And up at the top, you can see the amounts that will be carried forward next year. We're expecting about 88,000 out of that 210,000 that was allocated for the downtown parking and streetscaping carried forward. Jonathan put together some numbers on that, and that looks like the amount that we're going to be able to carry forward on that. We'll be able to $6,000 of the recruitment fund will of course carry forward. Nothing else has been approved for that, and the mural lighting will also carry forward. One other allocation that's going to carry forward is the Small Business Development Center. We committed back in March to do the Small Business Development Center with the Chamber of Commerce for 1 year. They bill us quarterly, and I've paid for the 2 quarters of this fiscal year, but next year there'll be 2 more quarters. And then also on page 4, I've also got a section of requested allocation from the CRA for next fiscal year. The $300,000 for the transfer to Better Place for the St. George repayment. That is included in there as we discussed during our budget workshops. We've also got Main Street manager's salary at $59,000, and everything below the Main Street manager's salary, fireworks, downtown Christmas lighting, the quarterly events, advertising, and the 3 third Friday parties, dancing in the street, second Saturday. Those were all requested by the Main Street manager. And then the remaining amount we put in contingency, which is almost $40,000. It's about $39,796. So we'll have about that much to allocate to any other programs or projects that may show up next fiscal year.
Ms. Murtaugh had a question, Mr. Leary.
Could you tell me what is that recruitment? What is that used for?
That recruitment fund was the $50,000 that was approved for, Jonathan, maybe it was explained.
The McCrory's building.
The $14,000 was for the McCrory's building.
Recruiting a new business.
But it's kind of there to bring in any new businesses that may be looking at the city of Palatka. I think one requirement of that grant is that they have to create jobs.
The full 50 has been allocated to that project. We just have $36,000 left to spend. The project's currently underway now. If you remember, Tracy Hutcherson is the tenant.
Right.
Where are we on that?
Wait just a minute. Excuse me. Go ahead, Ms.
I
Murtaugh.
thought she was supposed to be moved in by July 1st.
Oh, no.
No, they pushed that date back. There were some permitting issues, and there were some issues with the size of the AC units that they were putting in, and it's really just pushed the project back by about a month and a half.
But they do have funding and it is going forward, no issue.
Commissioner Leary.
Matt, as we discussed the other day, can we put the downtown arts and the musical thing under this and take it out of the general fund?
That is something that that should be discussed. As we talked about in the budget workshops, we've got several, about $14,000 coming out of the general fund of the city. $5,000 goes to the Chamber of Commerce. $5,000 goes to the Arts Council for the spring and summer concert series. And then we've got $4,000, $2,000 which goes to Conley Snyder, $2,000 goes to the St. Johns River Water Management Watershed Action Volunteer Program. We wanted to move that $5,000 for the spring and summer concert series. We can look at doing that. Haven't received any formal request from the Arts Council to include that in the budget. It's just in the budget because it has been there in the past.
Yeah, I think they probably think that we're just automatically going to do it. So the 2 things, yeah, well, Mayor, I would, at the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion to do that, and also to eliminate the funding to the Water Management District for that program. Who knows, anybody, I don't even know what they're doing.
Still like the art fund. But aren't we the ones to determine where that lies in the budget?
I assume we are, yeah. Yeah, sure. We can transfer it, make it an obligation of this rather than the general
We don't?
fund.
Okay, well, let's do it.
We're gonna move it.
But I think
well,
the city
question
commission,
is, do we gonna
city commission
add it?
would have to do it, not the CRA board.
Yeah.
The next meeting.
City commission
Put it on
meeting.
the next agenda.
Put it on the agenda for the next city commission meeting. Okay. Mr. Simbar.
I got a question for Charles. How do we determine the attendance at each of your functions? Is there a formally or an informal way you doing that? You do that?
We're doing it somewhat informally. We kind of do a head count. We track the number of bracelets at the street party, for instance.
Can you report those? I guess my point is you're spending a significant amount of money. We want to see the results. I want to be able to somehow quantify the number of people show up, how much money they're spending, how much economy they're bringing to downtown. And I don't know if some of the stuff is, you probably can't estimate, but it'd be good to see, to try to do some cost-benefit analysis. We're spending X and we think we're getting Y, and Y is this, whatever Y is.
Okay, the only thing we have now, we track income at the street party. Once that go up and down, that's kind of.
I mean, do we do any surveys of the people? I know a lot of people don't want to do surveys, especially when they're having fun or partaking in other activities. But have we ever said, well, are you going to come? Are you a resident? Are you going to come shop here? How much money you spend? How often do you frequent the downtown?
We haven't done that.
Okay, I'm just trying to find ways to be able to quantify. We're spending, significant resources and we're getting a benefit out of it. I think we are. I mean, but I'm just that you can show that and document that to people are saying, well, why are we doing this? What are the tangible results?
I want to give you a fun way you might want to do it. Let them do little interviews of people who are coming downtown to some of the parties, and tell them they're on the red carpet, and do a red carpet interview, and ask them the questions, and you get the answers, and they'd have fun with the video, and you might be able to use it in a promotion or something somewhere. And it might not cost a lot, because they tell me our phone, huh?
You too.
Yeah, I
That's
mean.
a great job for the vice mayor.
With that red coat.
There you go.
I
Call it a
have
red coat
somebody
interview.
that live close that would love to do it, but that might be a way you wouldn't have to do everybody, but it would help with a survey for us. Are you having a good time? Why did you come?
So they'd probably do it.
We try to attend everyone, and the crowds kind of vary sometimes. And a lot has to do with the weather and such as that. But what I'm seeing, this is just my feel, that there are more and more people every time. There's different faces down there. And when we get into the fall, I'm really excited about bringing more people into our community. And I think this is a great initiative on Main Street. Yes, Commissioner.
I concur with the city manager. I would like to see you keep a head count as best you can for, say, the next 6 months till January. I've read 2 letters to the editor in the newspaper, and both of them complimentary of the third Friday event. But the first one, which was June the 27th, the lady said only 40 people attended, and she wanted more people there. The next letter, which was about a week and a half ago, again bemoaned the fact that very few people attended. And we're spending, we, the CRA, are spending, so far we've spent $42,000 for these 3 events. And I think the Friday night event is about $1,500, and if we only got 40 people attending, in essence, we're paying each person $30 to come down there and attend. So I think we need, for the next 6 months, I think we might get a good feel of how many, because it just started this year, so if we can get a head count for the next 6 months on all 3 events, then that'll give us, in 6 months, I think it'll give us some idea of whether or not this is worth the money we're putting out.
Sure.
So I
And
think
our-
that.
It has been all over the map, as you said.
Right.
This last month was great turnout.
Yeah.
Before that was very low.
Political
Yeah.
campaigns,
Storm,
I had people talking to me, they said a lot of candidates were down there, but I think the city manager has a good point, and I would very much like to see that happen.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions of Mr. Rudd? Yes, Mr. You go ahead.
Jerry Hefner, 122 Filthy Lane, East Palatka. I just want to point out, I attend all these events. I'm on the Main Street Board. I watch Charles in action. And by the way, I will tell you that you've got one of the hardest working individuals I've ever seen in that gentleman right there. But I would like to tell you that the attendance does vary. Two of the weekends we've had these events have been pretty much ruined by rain. The first one we had. The last event that we had was very successful. Because of that, I personally have been able to get my Rotary Club to commit to come down and cook barbecue dinners and start serving barbecue dinners. That's the kind of thing we're looking for, to get other people in this community involved, get them down there on these third weekend parties, and really start drawing people in so that new businesses will see this going on. When they see this happen, we're going to get some new businesses. So I think we need to continue the effort. It's not something that's going to happen in 2 or 6 months. It's something that's going to take a while. I think you need to give this thing at least a year of running before you really start judging what the return is. Thank you.
Commissioner? Mr. Hafner?
Hafner makes some excellent points.
Yeah.
And I was at the last one, I thought was great. The only thing, Charles, I've noticed to see is to get a jazz and blues group, because I'm telling you, that's a niche. I'm telling you, everywhere I go, even in Alaska. Oh, there's a guy named Aaron Bing out of Jacksonville, young, new artist, and I met him in the airport. He'd be a great guy to come down and get, I mean, he'd get a big crowd.
And Mayor, you know, y'all laughed at me about the red carpet thing, but it might be something that a student, you know, from the college, they've got Flow Arts down there. He would have experience in filming. They could get experience with interviewing and doing their stuff. And we need to ask them to partner with us in doing some of that stuff. And I don't mind coming to help you do it.
Mayor?
Yes, Commissioner Kitchens?
Just one other thing, I still concur with the city manager, we do need to get a count on this, and as to what Mr. Hefner said, that's true, but in January, this will have been going on for a year, so it'll give us some idea, and I'm not recommending we stop it, I just want to know how many people that, you know, we're getting down there, just some idea, and then we'll do it again in another 6 months, and just take it from there, but I just want to get some idea.
All our efforts are focused on getting more activity downtown, and if we don't make the effort, nothing's going to happen. And I applaud the efforts being made, the hard work, and Mr. Hafner with the Main Street Committee, appreciate your interest. But it's up to all of us to promote this and try to get our friends and neighbors downtown. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Since we are on that topic, if I can just add one thing, talking about recruitment. I don't know if there's money in the budget for possibly a part-timer to handle possibly recruitment for businesses to come into the downtown area. We're doing promotions, but it's very difficult to promote when you don't have a lot of retail stores, you have a lot of vacant buildings. I think if we had someone, whether it's part-time or a volunteer base, to just try to recruit some businesses into downtown, it would really help also. I don't know if there's enough money.
Yeah, that's what the chamber's doing with their small business thing, and we're donating money.
Well, I've asked the chamber how many businesses have they brought to Putnam County or even to the downtown, and none, zero.
Well, this just started a few months ago, and the lady that runs it told me that nobody from downtown has contacted her about anything, basically.
Well, her job is to get out and do that.
So-
That's not for us to do.
Yeah, well, we
That's her
told
job.
the chamber that when we agreed to the money, that they needed to actively work with downtown Palatka also to work on downtown Palatka, so.
Well, it's not being done.
Is it appropriate to ask the city manager and the mayor to actually have a conversation to meet with the chamber?
I think that's appropriate. I think that's appropriate. We have, to answer your question, we have had some conversations with business development officer of the chamber recently and talking about new businesses. It's just, they're just not focused. But that's an ongoing process. First thing, we have to get some human traffic downtown, some footprints downtown, and that's the first step. And jazz. Right. Any other comments or questions?
I want to bring up something else. We talked about the lighting and all that stuff for the murals, but we had the representative from the mural committee come and say that they were putting together a way to get the description of what those murals were, and she said that it could be done on the smartphone. Well, everybody doesn't have a smartphone, and I asked, could we have our police chief, who has done a lot of research with it, talk to us about the program that we thought we had going. When I went back and talked to the mural committee, their drawback was they didn't want the money taken from their lighting. And so I asked the city manager if it was possible that we might throw out, since people are using cell phones, to ask a cell phone company to sponsor and pay for whatever it costs for the city to do it. And then the lighting money would stay there, and we would have anybody who had a cell phone be able to get it. Because we got a lot of our older people who get the free phone, and if they could access it or do some of the things that would give them something to do, it would give us more people walking up in downtown and stopping at the stores. And if you all would let the police chief explain to us the system that we had looked into and what it would do, I think it would help. And I think if they didn't think it was taken away from their money, they'd appreciate it too.
Are you suggesting that we do that now?
Sure.
Or the future date?
No, I asked what to be put on this,
Well, let's go ahead and go through our agenda here.
He's already done, he can give a brief explanation.
Yeah.
We we were talking about
Chief,
budgeting
okay,
and
well-
stuff, and that's part of it.
All right. Well, let's go on. Okay, are you through with your presentation?
The only other thing I was gonna say is the same thing applies to the north and south historic district. Page 2 and 3 is the current year revenues and expenditures. Page 5 and 6 are next year's revenues and allocations. The extra money that they don't have allocated right now, I've just allocated to contingency, and that can, of course, be reallocated at any of the other upcoming CRA meetings that they come up with programs like Mike presented earlier, so.
Move
that's-
approval of
that's all I
5B, Mayor.
Second.
Does this require official action on our part, the budget approval? Okay, there's a motion for
Second.
approval by Commissioner Leary, seconded by whom?
Me,
Commissioner Brown. Is there any discussion?
Question?
Question's been called. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. The budget stands approved. Chief Getchell, while we're on the budget and this issue of the murals, why don't you?
Harry Getchell, Police Chief. I just can't get this off my desk, can I? At one point, Vice Mayor Brown went to the city manager, and she was directed down to my office, because at that point, IT fell under police department. Actually, at this point, it does. And the project was very narrow in scope, so rather than assign it to Chris Cheatham to look at, between myself and my secretary and a few other people, we went out and looked at it. Put a small package together, basically for the city manager to look at as to a recommendation. There's several ways to do it. The first way the city manager was looking at was create all these IP addresses and using the city server and all that. It was completely cost prohibitive and not the right way to go. What we suggested was that through a telephone service, anybody that has a cell phone, you walk up to the murals. It's a relatively inexpensive service fee per month. It's minimal, I think like $5 a month or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think you said between $30 and $50 a month, Chief, yes.
And, I mean, it was so minimal, it was like, all right, what's the catch?
Was that per or for the entire?
The entire service. And there is a small catch to it. So we called around to those municipalities and zoos and stuff around the country that had this exact service. They swore by it. And what happens is the service that provides this sells advertising space. So in this case, downtown businesses or whatever could actually buy advertising space on it. And that's what really pays for it, is the advertising space. So it's relatively inexpensive to whoever would pay that monthly bill, whether it be the city or CRA, et cetera. But where the company makes up the money is on the advertising space. Yes.
And there's some limit to the amount of advertising per message, I guess.
I'm sure there
Yeah.
is, and then it's unlimited on the amount of phones, lines that you have based on your murals.
Yeah.
I'll give you, for instance, Cleveland Zoo used the same service. And they had several hundred sites at the zoo that you could dial into and basically get a tour over the phone.
Okay.
So Mayor, this would not only help people get the history of the murals, but it would also do some advertising for downtown Palatka. And a lot of the people that come and see the murals are from out of town. There's a whole busload of them that comes down from Jacksonville on a regular basis, and then the big cruise ship that pulls up, and $30 to $50 a month. Gosh, that sounds, we could take up a collection for that much.
Okay, Mary, you got it, okay?
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, Chief Getchell? Mr. Rudd, you want to say something? Would you come up to the podium,
Was
please?
there a fixed number of minutes per month, and then it was, we would pay by the minute as it goes over?
I'm caught off guard here, so I don't know.
I think when you buy the 30 to 50 was for, let's say, 700 minutes, and then if anything over, we pay by the minute. So
Would you come up to the podium, please?
that was my
Well,
concern.
we're going to ask our city manager to look into this as the CRA administrator.
Robin Mayor, 703 Everett Street, also on the Bureau Committee. We talked about this at length with Bureau. We're really going to progress technology-wise, and we're going to do a QR reader system. And we're going to have a QR reader symbol, which looks similar to a barcode. And if you do have a smartphone, you can scan and go right to the website. If you do not, though, also with a QR code will be the website itself. So if you have a regular dumb phone, you can just punch in the website and you'll get it. And once you hit on the website and hit the audio, for each mural, there will be a little narrative giving a history and description of the mural. And our webmaster is already setting up that portion of it. So we were, QR readers are free to read.
So right now you're saying to wait, not to do.
Right, because, and wait until, and fairness until John Alexander, as the chairperson of the mural committee, comes up to speak to this issue.
Okay,
I'm just giving
I
you-
went and talked to John. I just didn't jump
Yeah,
up
I'm
and
just giving
say
you
this.
an
I
update of
talked
where
to
the
John.
mural committee is heading now, which is no cost to us. We already have the website, we pay our webmaster, so we're not gonna incur any additional costs by doing it this way.
So it is a
But
work in
anyway.
progress at this
Yeah,
point.
so-
Thank you. Okay, item C is the reports. We have item 5C1, first quarter report from the Small Business Development Center, University of North Florida at Putnam County. Cheryl Lynch, who is our certified business analyst staff. Please give your name and address, please.
Cheryl Lynch, located at 1100 Beach Street, Palatka. Excuse me. Good afternoon, everybody.
Welcome.
The report you have in front of you, what we've done is try to, on a quarterly basis, report back to all stakeholders who are participating in the program now that it's full-time. So what we did was did a comparison from the first quarter, which is a part-time person coming in once a month, once or twice a month, to now having somebody full-time, and the impact that it's having, and the success that it's actually having in the area. I wanted to point out specifically, if you look at the bottom, we've already exceeded through half the year the amount of entrepreneurs that have seeked assistance from all the prior years, and it's steadily growing as the word is getting out. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, I'd be more than happy to answer them at this time.
Have you broken down how many of this 37 are specifically in the corporate limits of the city, or is this just countywide?
It's countywide, but I can tell you the majority of the people that are coming are within the city limits.
Okay, could you give us a report on that? I mean, we don't need to know the names, but can you say
I can
80%?
just break it down by zip code.
That would be wonderful.
But I would say 90% of
Okay,
them.
very good.
Can I,
Right now.
what kind of people are coming? What kind of businesses are they looking at?
It's 57% of them are service businesses, 23% are retail, 10% are manufacturing, and 10% are construction. That's what we've been seeing so far.
Of the 37, are some of them already in business, or are all these new businesses?
No, some of them are already in business. Majority of them, 56% are already in business, and 44% are pre-venture.
Okay, may I ask, what are they coming and asking?
Anything from assistance with finding financing, that's the majority of it, to business planning, how do I get the business, what do I need to do, marketing assistance, social media is a big thing right now. The one workshop that we did have was marketing in 2012 beyond. We had 22 people come, and it was very successful, and people got a lot out of it.
Okay, I have one more question. Could you please tell us how you're getting this information? I know you put it in the Palatka Daily News, a lot of people don't read it. How are you getting it to, especially the CRA district, the downtown version? How are you getting that information, whether it's a class, what is available, how are you getting it to the businesses downtown?
Notifying them?
Yes.
Worked very closely with Sam Deputy, and he was a big factor in helping with the marketing workshop. Usually if there's stuff going on, my email list is in building. The chamber sends out information as well.
The chamber only sends out information to the members.
Right. I
I
have an
am-
email list as well.
Okay, I'm the downtown president. All the emails that goes out to the merchant base, that email comes from my business. So if you're giving it to Sam, Sam would then have to forward it to me. So if you could just please, anything, send it to me, because I do not feel like there's any communication between you and the downtown group.
Okay?
There is no communication.
Well,
I think there is a little bit of communication. I've been in your store several times, and we've talked, and we've discussed certain items, and getting ideas and feedback. I've gone door to door with Charles to all of the central district businesses that were open at the time when we went, so it takes time to build up, and people are hesitant with releasing emails and things of that nature, but we're progressing.
If you would like the downtown Palatka email list, I don't have a problem giving that
Great.
to you.
Great.
Been in my store once because Sam asked you to bring the information to me so that I can get it out. That's the only time I've met you and saw you. So
Well, that's, I think about trying to cooperate and work together, we can make that happen.
I can come to the monthly meeting if you would like. I was at one of them previously, and if you'd like me to come to them monthly, I can be more than happy to do so.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I guess my only other question is, do you have any sustainability programs coming up?
As far as
Businesses, how do they sustain their business, helping them to sustain their business?
we had a business networking workshop last night. We have taken control of your insurance dollar next Tuesday. We're gonna try and have 2 to 3 workshops a month, ranging from how to start a business to managing all aspects of your business.
What you had last night, I didn't get one email, but after I knew nothing about it, either than.
Well, Ms. Murtaugh, I think we're gonna,
Mayor,
okay.
I'm trying to let her be aware that
Okay.
if she's doing work, we are not getting it downtown, and there needs to be a little bit more open communication.
Sounds a bit like Sam's, didn't it?
Thank you.
Everybody thinks Sam's the mayor of downtown, by the way, Mayor.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think we can work around that and develop that line of communication. What we've done in the past obviously wasn't satisfactory. Going forward, I think we can work together and make this work, which is why we're all here. And thank you.
I just wanted to tell you, Ms. Lynch, that I'm not a member of the chamber, but I do get your emails about the workshops. I got the one about last night, and I forwarded it on to several people that are friends of mine that either have businesses or are looking at businesses, so thank you for that.
Thank you. I recently was made abreast of the Putnam Grapevine, so I think.
Yes,
I
you need to
gave
get with Jim
information.
Milphy on that. That's a very good source.
Yeah, whatever other sources you have, not being in Putnam County or from Putnam County, any help that you can give me would be great.
I will talk
We
to you
stand
later.
ready to help.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your hard work, Ms. Lynch. Item 2 is a North Historic District Neighborhood Update. Please state your name and address, please.
Hi, Elizabeth Van Rensburg, 310 North 3rd Street. Y'all are in rare form tonight. Sort of nervous.
Yes, we are.
But it's only happy stepping in. I wanted to let you know that our hospitality chairman reported back to us this week. She delivered 5 welcome to the neighborhood baskets to 5 homeowners that have bought on the north side in the last 6 months. And since we only have 65 residences in our little area, that's pretty great for a 6-month period. We have new homeowners who we're really excited to have them. I don't know if they bought their homes based on coming to our holiday home tour last year or not, but remember we did have all of the homes that were for sale on the north side open house during that day when we had the holiday home tour. So we'd really like to take credit for those 5 sales, whether or not we deserve to. We also, as you all know, have coming up our Occupation of Palatka 1864 second annual Civil War Living History event. And I will tell you that I'm going to be going to the realtors to ask them to open the homes for sale in the neighborhood also over that weekend, which is the last weekend in September. Something new that we're doing this year, we'll actually have horse and wagon tours of the north side, which will cost a little bit of money, but will hopefully be not only a bit of a fundraiser to the neighborhood, but we'll let people tour these homes that are for sale, tour our neighborhood, hear a bit of the history, and as I always say, buy a home and move here. So far, for the Occupation of Palatka, we anticipate having about the same amount of in-kind donations that we had last year. We had right at about $13,000 worth of in-kind donations to that weekend. This year, we've also been awarded $1,095 in TDC funding to help us promote. And I will tell you that I've already made commitments with the St. Augustine Record, the Villages outside Orlando, the Sarasota Herald Tribune, to secure advertising in their newspapers for this event. I've also been to area hotels and I've organized special pricing, which my out-of-town ads will say, mention 1864 for special prices at area accommodations. So if the folks see the ads and call the area hotels, they will get special rates for that weekend, which I will track and report back to the TDC, how many heads we put in beds as a result of this event. We have also, we are right at $1,000 worth of cash that has been donated to this event. And considering it's still, quite a ways away, we are very, very excited. We've got right at double the amount of reenactors coming this year. We have double the amount of civilian reenactors coming this year. We've expanded to a 2-day event. We've also expanded the hours of Saturday, and of course last year we didn't do Sunday at all, this year we are. And we've really, really geared it towards kids and families. If you look at our flyer at the moment, it does say fun for the whole family, and I think it really will be. The event itself, of course, is free. Also, if you'd like to look at the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see it does have the Main Street logo, which Main Street has been so helpful to us, and of course, you all know I think the world of Charles. We did that as a thank you to Main Street, to just let the public know that, once again, everything that we do all over Palatka really ought to be a partnership, and everything that we certainly do on the north side is. And having said that, you'll probably have already gotten these in the mail, but the Putnam County Historical Society, Reed's Garden Neighborhood Association, and also the Hammock is co-hosting a meet and greet for our new city manager. You probably already have these, but if you don't, there are invitations for all, and that's going to be on Tuesday the 28th at the Bronson Mahoney House. And I think that's it. Any questions for me?
Yes, I do.
I'm looking forward to meeting you.
I don't have a question. I have a
Commissioner
suggestion
Kitchens
for you.
has
I noted the newspapers that you noted you were putting the ads in. I suggest you go to Alachua County and Duval County, those newspapers. There's a large group of Civil War reenactors in Alachua County, and they have the whole town medieval reenactment, so I think they'd be a good source there of people that would want to come here. And then, of course, Jacksonville has a number of people, as we all know, so I think you look at putting ads in Duval County newspapers, Jacksonville newspapers, as well as Gainesville newspapers, and I think you'll get even more people.
I do too. This year the TDC was kind enough to give me the $1,095, and that amount was less than I had hoped for, but then again, last year I didn't have a lot of cash donations. So this year I'm really trying to encourage people, if you would like to do something for the event, don't just go do it, run it through us so that we can build up our cash donations to be able to go back to the TDC next year to get more money. I will tell you that the Villages has an incredibly active Civil War contingent. Matter of fact, one of their Civil War clubs has over 1,400 members in it. So you're right, that's exactly the demographic we're looking for. We're looking for retired folks who are Civil War buffs, but we're also, and have the grandkids that they want to bring here for the weekend. So we will definitely look into everything that we can get. We'll also be, of course, advertising extensively locally. We've got our posters, we've got flyers, we've got Facebook, this is my thing, this is what I do. So we're just very excited.
Thank you.
Commissioner Leary has a question.
This is the 150th anniversary of the Civil War too, and I just didn't know if you are going to try to, add that in, and have you talked with anybody with the Sons of the Confederacy? I know that there's a group that is out of, I used to know the major or whatever he is out of Green Cove.
Double answer to that. Actually, I believe next year is the 150th anniversary of this particular event, the occupation in 1864. So next year is going to be huge. Our reenactors that we deal with, I believe I've told you before, they're the real diehard reenactors. If they didn't have to, they don't do it. And they are, well, actually I have a couple of deaths over the weekend, just to film with it. But anyway, they are the 48th New York Regiment. And they are in contact with other reenacting groups. And we actually, our agreement with them is that anybody that wants to take part in this event as a reenactor, we give them the contact information and they investigate to make sure. So anybody that would like to hand me any information on other reenacting groups, I'd love it because I want this event to be huge. I'd like it to expand to St. Mark's Church. To have my Confederates over here, my Union soldiers over here, and never the twain shall meet, but they're both there. So just give me the information and let me pass it on to my gentlemen and let them, kind of vet and make sure that we're getting the quality reenactors that we want to have. Nobody showing up in Nikes and, they've got a plastic ladle. It's not want that.
With AKs.
Yeah, really, exactly. I'll take those. But anyway, any other questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that New York bunch is a bunch of Yankees down here. And we've got some Yankees in our midst here. I'm looking at Michael out there.
I told you I had a Yankee kicked out of me a long time.
Okay, do we have anything else we need to discuss or talk about?
Just quickly, Jonathan, did you want to talk about the UF proposal that we're supposed to be getting, just briefly?
We've been in discussions with the University of Florida Landscape Architecture Department for some time now. It looks like this year, in the fall semester, they'd like to do a planning study of our road corridors and give us a streetscape master plan. Unfortunately, I haven't received the proposal yet, and the CRA probably won't meet unless we call a special meeting. I hope to have that proposal within a week or two, and I just do expect, though, that we'll be requesting some sort of financial contribution from the CRA.
Any questions?
And we
Sounds good.
You
We can
couldn't
do
get
that.
that
We
from
can
an
do-
accredited university?
Since FSU doesn't have an architectural school, yeah.
It's the only program in the state.
From the land grant university.
Okay, is there any,
Yeah, I have a
Commissioner
question.
Kitchens?
Who's gonna be our new city attorney now?
Is there any other item to come before?
Motion to adjourn.
There's a motion to adjourn. If there's no objection, we stand adjourned.